By the end of this video, you'll know how to record the warmest vocals that you probably ever recorded in your life. And I'm not even using analog gear at all. And I'm not even going to be using my Apollo Twin. I'm not using this. I'm not using it. I'm not using it. Because a lot of people think that you need an Apollo Twin or any analog gear to get those warm vocals, or you need an expensive mic. And I'm using the Line Audio 220, the old one, not even the new one. Now that we got the trash artists out the way, I just need you to like the video and stick with me to the end. First thing that we have to establish is an understanding of warm vocals and how they apply to audio mixing, engineering, whatever you want to call it. So first, we're going to go through Google. Warm vocals, so people can't just be like, warm vocals mean this, or I thought they meant this. No, this is what it is, right? Because in audio engineering, there are technical things that are there for a reason. What is the frequency of vocal warmth? Because people want warm vocals. It says between 100 and 400 hertz, right? Depending on who you ask, you know, 100 to 400 or 100 to 300. It just depends on the engineer. But this whole little 100 to 400 range, that's where it's at. It's not the 5K, it's not the mid range, it's not 60 and below. That's not warmth, all right? That's some other shit. But here we go. It says the fundamental frequencies of a vocal are typically found between 100 and 400 hertz. This is where the main body and warmth of a vocal lives. Too much of this frequency range and the vocals will sound boomy, lack clarity, and potentially muddy up the low end of your mix. And this is cited from Isotope, right? But this is the same shit that I learned in school. And anyway, like most engineers or all engineers will tell you that this is where the warmth range is. So now that we got that established about what warm vocals are and what the frequency range is, let's get into logic. I don't have my Apollo Twin hooked up or anything. I'm not using an expensive microphone. So watch what happens when I boost this right here, right? The vocal gets a little more warmer. It gets a little bit more fuller in that range because this microphone doesn't have that right here. But if I reduce that in this range, you have how thin my vocals get. That's even thinner than what they kind of are. All right, even if I go up here and mess with the 300 range, if I take this out right here, so if I move this up right here, you hear how that gets a little bit more fuller. But the more I over exaggerate this effect of the EQ, it's getting boomy. It's not really natural. It sounds weird. It doesn't feel right? So if we're gonna add warmth with the EQ, we have to be careful about how much we boost between this range. We could dial in on like certain frequencies. So if we wanna do this one right here, a little curve right here, and boost certain things, we can. But if you make the mistake of making it like this right here and you raise that up, this is frequency sweeping, right? You don't want to put fucking clown hats when you boosting, right? You don't want to boost narrow, right? We cut narrow, you understand? We cut narrow and we boost wide, right? So wide boost when it comes to additive EQ, right? So anywhere between that range right there. So if we want to just find something and boost, we can boost that, right? So that can make it a little warmer. That's just with EQ. Another way to add warmth and character to digital audio is to use tube saturation plugins. Tube saturation plugins mimic the sound of running audio through vacuum tubes, which are electronic devices that amplify and modify signal. So when it comes to using things like the Need 1073 from UAD or different emulations of it, the Avalon 737 is going to help you get those warm vocals. The LA2A, the 1176, the Tube Tech, the API, the Manly Vox box, things like that are going to help you get that warmth into your vocals, that, you know what I'm saying, that's going to give you that pro kind of level quality, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of people overlook that, right? So even saturation, so like the capitator that works, like Magma Tools from Waves Audio, that works. But there's another plugin that I got to show you. I discovered this plugin in a little baby session and I went and bought it. So here we go. It's the Oxide plugin right here. This is a tape plugin, all right? This is analog. This is going to give us that warmth, those vocals that we're recording through analog, like a console or whatever like that. That's going to give us that, right? And I specifically chose this plugin based on the fact that it's going to give us that warmth. It's going to give us that analog feel. So I'm using the Line Audio 220 and I'm using the UAD Volt, and I do not have the 76 compressor on it. And I want you to see something. I want you to really like put some headphones on or really pay attention right here. So when I do this, as soon as I turn this on, we're going to hear a dramatic difference, right? Boom, right? You hear that? Like my vocals just came alive. Like just turn the plugin on. There's nothing else there, right? We see everything that's on the tracks. Oxide is the only thing you hear. If I turn it off, We hear the difference. The vocal sounds like it's struggling. It doesn't have no love. Nobody cares about this vocal, right? But then, boom, right there. There's another element to when you're recording these vocals, because the further I get away from the microphone, like the thinner the voice is going to be, right? You hear how roomy this sounds, and it's not cool. But the closer I get to the microphone, the more body, the more intimate this is going to get, right? The more, like, the fuller the vocal is going to be, the warmer the vocal is going to be. But you can substitute this plugin for other tape plugins. It doesn't have to be this exact one, but this is the exact one. And in this one, I made custom presets in here that you can get, you know what I'm saying? So if you want to cop those, you can cop them. It's a link in the description. But other than that, let's record with it and let's just see what we can do with these vocals. Oxide turned off, yeah. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. These vocals got more weight. These vocals got more weight. They want me. Yeah. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. So now let's do Oxide with the EQ booster a little bit right here in this 100 to 400 range to see how that works, right? Let's just see. Let me if you want to leave. Alright. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. Don't say you love me if you want to leave. So like we did that with that, boosted a little bit, right? So we're gonna run it down. So alright, so do the same thing. So we're gonna go over here and break it right here. So now play those. Let's see what they're gonna sound like. Alright, because the vocals are warmer. Yeah, don't say you love me if you wanna leave. Don't say you love me if you wanna leave. Don't say you love me if you wanna leave. Alright. And that alone right there just shows us like the difference, right? For people that vocal that are thin, they're putting all these presets on there, like recording through a tape plugin, recording through a channel strip, printing that gives you a better quality of a vocal, right? It makes up for not having analog gear when you record through it. That was the whole purpose of this UAD twin and the console, for you to record like you would in a studio. And I found out a way to record like if you had this in here, you know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is, you know what I'm saying? Printing, that's all we're doing. We're printing through the compression, printing, giving us that warmth, like we're recreating the studio in the crib, like in the box. We're doing that here.